What happens when Hollywood's most outspoken actress meets television's most controversial host, and a simple interview about charity work spirals into the most explosive confrontation daytime TV has ever witnessed? You're about to find out. Because what started as a routine appearance on The View turned into an absolute disaster that left Charlize Theron storming off set and Joy Behar scrambling to contain the chaos she created. Before we dive into this incredible story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below, because you're going to want to share your thoughts on what happens next. It was supposed to be a straightforward promotional appearance. Charlize Theron was scheduled for a 10-minute segment to discuss her latest film and her humanitarian work in Africa. The producers had briefed Joy Behar extensively about keeping the conversation light and positive, focusing on Charlize's charitable foundation and upcoming movie release. But Joy had other plans. The trouble began the moment Charlize walked onto the set. While the other hosts, Whoopi Goldberg, Sarah Haynes, and Sunny Hostin, greeted her warmly with genuine smiles and welcoming gestures, Joy's expression remained cold and calculating. She barely acknowledged Charlize's entrance, instead shuffling through her notes with an almost predatory focus. "Welcome back to The View, everyone," Whoopi announced as they returned from commercial break. "We're here with Academy Award winner Charlize Theron, who's here to talk about her incredible work with children in Africa and her exciting new thriller hitting theaters this weekend." Charlize, radiant, in a tailored navy blazer, smiled genuinely at the camera. "Thank you so much for having me, ladies. I'm always excited to be here." "So tell us about this foundation," Sarah began warmly. "You've been working with children in South Africa for over 15 years now." "That's right," Charlize replied, her eyes lighting up with passion. "We focus on education and healthcare access in underserved communities. It's incredibly rewarding work, and we've been able to build 12 schools and 3 medical clinics so far." Joy suddenly leaned forward, interrupting the flow of conversation. "That's interesting, Charlize. But I have to ask, with all the problems we have right here in America, don't you think it's a bit hypocritical to be sending money overseas when we have homeless children in our own backyard?" The studio fell silent. Sunny and Sarah exchanged uncomfortable glances, while Whoopi's eyebrows shot up in surprise. Charlize's smile faltered slightly, but she maintained her composure. "Well, Joy, I think compassion doesn't have borders," Charlize responded diplomatically. "I was born in South Africa, so this work is deeply personal to me. But I also support numerous American charities, including organizations that help homeless youth right here in New York." Joy wasn't satisfied with this answer. She pressed on with a condescending tone. "But doesn't it seem convenient that Hollywood celebrities always want to be saviors in exotic locations where they can get great photo opportunities, rather than dealing with the gritty reality of American poverty?" Charlize's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "I'm sorry, Joy, but I don't appreciate the implication that my humanitarian work is some kind of publicity stunt. I've been quietly supporting these communities long before I ever spoke about it publicly." "Oh, quietly?" Joy laughed sarcastically. "Is that why there are photographers at every one of your charity visits?" Whoopi attempted to intervene. "Joy, maybe we should—" No, it's fine," Charlize said, her voice remaining steady but gaining an edge. "I want to address this. Joy, you seem to have a very cynical view of charitable work. The photographers you're referring to help raise awareness and funding for these causes. Every dollar we raise through that publicity goes directly to helping children who desperately need it." Joy leaned back in her chair with a smirk. "Right. And I'm sure it has nothing to do with maintaining your image as America's sweetheart while you make millions playing tough action heroes." The other hosts looked mortified. Sarah tried to change the subject. "Charlize, your new movie looks incredible. Can you tell us about—" "Actually," Joy interrupted again, "I want to know more about these action roles. Isn't it a bit ironic that someone who claims to be all about peace and helping children spends most of her time on screen killing people and blowing things up?" Charlize took a deep breath clearly struggling to maintain her professionalism. Joy. I'm an actress. I play characters in fictional stories. That's very different from real-life humanitarian work. I'm not sure why you're trying to create some kind of contradiction where none exists. I'm just pointing out the hypocrisy, Joy said with false innocence. You can't have it both ways, sweetie. You can't be Mother Teresa during the day and Furiosa at night. The condescending use of sweetie was the first crack in Charlize's composure. Her eyes flashed with anger, though her voice remained controlled. First of all, don't call me sweetie. Second, I think you're deliberately misrepresenting what I do and why I do it. Joy's smirk widened. She sensed she had hit a nerve and decided to push further. Oh, I'm sorry if I touched a sensitive spot. I just think our viewers deserve to know when celebrities are being authentic versus when they're just playing another role. Are you questioning my authenticity? Charlize asked, her voice dropping to a dangerously quiet level. I'm questioning whether your charity work is genuine concern or just really expensive PR, Joy shot back without hesitation. Whoopi jumped in desperately. Okay, ladies, let's take a step back here. No, Whoopi, Charlize said firmly, her eyes never leaving Joy's face. I want to hear more about what Joy thinks she knows. About my motivations and my character. Joy, emboldened by what she perceived as weakness, went for the kill. Look, Charlize, I've been in this business for decades. I've seen countless celebrities use charity work as a shield against criticism and a way to rehabilitate their image when they need good publicity. And you think that's what I'm doing? Charlize's voice was ice cold now. I think you're a very smart woman who knows how to work the system, Joy replied with a patronizing smile. The other hosts sat in stunned silence as the tension in the studio reached a breaking point. Charlize slowly placed her hands on the table, her knuckles white with the effort of controlling her temper. Joy, Charlize said, her voice cutting through the studio silence like a blade. I need you to be very careful about what you say next, because you're about 30 seconds away from crossing a line that you won't be able to uncross. Joy, mistaking Charlize's warning for weakness, doubled down with reckless confidence. Oh, am I making you uncomfortable? Good. Maybe it's time someone asked the hard questions instead of just fawning over your latest movie. Hard questions? Charlize repeated, her eyebrows raising in disbelief. You call personal attacks and baseless accusations hard questions? That's not journalism, Joy. That's just mean-spirited gossip. I call it keeping celebrities accountable, Joy snapped back. Sorry if you're not used to someone who won't kiss your ring. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to crawl under the table, while Sunny Hostin stared at Joy with barely concealed horror. Whoopi made another desperate attempt to regain control of the situation. Joy, I think maybe we should— Whoopi, please, Charlize interrupted, never taking her eyes off Joy. Let her finish. I want to hear exactly what she thinks she's accomplishing here. Joy leaned forward aggressively. What I'm accomplishing is showing our viewers that not everyone in Hollywood is who they pretend to be. Your whole sweet charitable persona is just another performance, isn't it? You want to talk about performances? Charlize's voice was dangerously calm now. Let's talk about your performance as a journalist. Because what you're doing right now isn't journalism, it's character assassination based on absolutely nothing. I have sources, Joy claimed defensively. What sources? Charlize demanded. Name them. Give me one concrete example of how my charity work is fake or self-serving. Just one. Joy faltered for a moment, clearly having no actual evidence to back up her claims. Well, there are people who work in the industry who— Who what? Charlize pressed. Who told you that the schools we built are fake? Who said the medical supplies we provide don't exist? Who claimed that the hundreds of children we've helped get access to clean water and education are just props in some elaborate publicity stunt? The desperation in Joy's eyes was becoming obvious to everyone watching. She had backed herself into a corner with accusations she couldn't support. But instead of backing down, she decided to go nuclear. "Look, I don't need to prove anything to you," Joy said with false bravado. "Everyone knows that celebrities who get involved in African charities are usually just trying to make themselves feel better about their privileged lives. It's like emotional colonialism." The entire studio gasped. Even the production crew behind the cameras could be heard murmuring in shock. Charlize's face went completely white, then flushed with rage. "Emotional colonialism?" Charlize repeated, her voice shaking with fury. "Did you just accuse me of emotional colonialism for helping children in the country where I was born?" Joy realized she had gone too far, but her pride wouldn't let her admit it. "I'm just saying that maybe those communities would be better served by local solutions rather than Hollywood interventions." Local solutions? Charlize's voice was rising now. "Joy, do you have any idea what you're talking about? Do you know anything about the communities I work with? Do you understand the economic and political challenges these regions face?" "I understand enough," Joy said stubbornly. "No, you clearly don't understand anything," Charlize shot back. "You're sitting here making ignorant, offensive statements about work you've never researched, places you've never visited, and people you've never met. And you're doing it on national television." Whoopi tried once more to intervene. "Ladies, I think we need to." "Whoopi, I'm sorry, but I need to finish this," Charlize said firmly. "Joy, you want to question my authenticity? Fine. Let me tell you what's authentic. What's authentic is the little girl in Johannesburg who can read now because of the school we built. What's authentic is the mother who didn't lose her son to a preventable disease because of the clinic we funded. What's authentic is the community that has clean water for the first time in generations because of the wells we dug." Joy tried to interrupt, but Charlize held up her hand. "I'm not finished. You want to know what else is authentic? The fact that I've never once used a single child or family for a photo opportunity without their explicit consent and without ensuring they benefit directly from that exposure. Every single dollar of publicity value goes back into the programs. I don't take a salary. I don't take expenses. I don't take credit that belongs to the local teams who do the actual work." "Well, that's very noble of you," Joy said sarcastically, still refusing to back down. "Noble?" Charlize's voice cracked with emotion. "Joy, there's nothing noble about it. These aren't strangers to me. This is my home. These are my people. And you're sitting here suggesting that caring about my own community is some kind of performance art." The raw emotion in Charlize's voice finally seemed to reach some of the other hosts. Sarah looked like she was about to cry, and Sunny was staring at Joy with pure disgust. But Joy wasn't done. In what would prove to be the biggest mistake of her career, she decided to push one final button. "Your people?" Joy said with a mocking laugh. "Charlize, you're a multimillionaire who lives in Malibu. You haven't been one of those people for decades. You're playing dress up as a humanitarian, but at the end of the day, you go home to your mansion while they're still living in poverty." The studio fell into complete silence. Every person in that room knew that Joy had just crossed the ultimate line. Charlize sat perfectly still for a long moment, her jaw clenched so tightly that the muscles in her face were visibly strained. When she finally spoke, her voice was barely above a whisper, but it carried more fury than any scream could have. "How dare you? Reason Frest. How dare you?" Joy, finally realizing the magnitude of her mistake, tried to backtrack. "Charlize, I didn't mean..." "No." Charlize cut her off, standing up from her chair with such force that it rolled backward. "You meant exactly what you said. You just didn't expect to get called out for it." Charlize towered over the panel, her entire body radiating controlled fury. "You want to talk about what I go home to, Joy? Let me tell you what I go home to. I go home to sleepless nights worrying about funding for programs that keep children alive. I go home to phone calls at 3 in the morning because there's been a crisis and people need help. I go home to photographs of kids I've watched grow up, some of whom didn't make it to their 10th birthday despite everything we tried to do. Joy opened her mouth to respond, but Charlize wasn't finished. Her voice grew stronger and more passionate with every word. You think my wealth disqualifies me from caring about poverty? You think my success means I can't remember where I came from? Joy, I've seen more real poverty, real suffering, and real hope than you've seen in your entire career sitting behind this desk, making snide comments about people who are actually trying to make a difference. Charlize, please sit down, Whoopi pleaded, but Charlize ignored her completely. And another thing, Joy, Charlize continued, pointing directly at her tormentor. You want to question my authenticity? Let's talk about your authenticity. What have you done lately besides tear down people who are actually working to solve problems? When was the last time you used your platform to highlight a cause that matters, instead of just stirring up controversy for ratings? Joy's face was bright red now, a mixture of embarrassment and stubborn anger. That's not fair, Charlize. My job is to ask tough questions. Your job, Charlize shot back, is supposed to be informing and entertaining your audience, not ambushing guests with personal attacks based on nothing but your own cynicism and jealousy. Jealousy? Joy sputtered. What would I be jealous of? I don't know, Joy. You tell me. What is it about me that bothers you so much? Is it that I've managed to have a successful career without becoming bitter and mean? Is it that I can actually sleep at night, knowing I'm helping people instead of hurting them? The other hosts sat frozen, unable to intervene in what had become a complete demolition of Joy Behar on her own show. Sarah was staring at the table, Sunny was shaking her head in disbelief, and Whoopi looked like she wanted to disappear. Joy, realizing she was losing badly, made one final, desperate attempt to regain control. You know what, Charlize? I think this conversation proves my point perfectly. The mask is finally off, and everyone can see the real you. Charlize laughed, but it wasn't a pleasant sound. The real me? Joy. This is exactly who I am. I'm someone who doesn't tolerate bullies, especially bullies who attack people for doing good in the world. If standing up to you makes me look bad, then I'm perfectly fine with that. You're having a complete meltdown on national television, Joy said desperately. Am I? Charlize looked directly into the camera. America. You be the judge. I came here to talk about helping children get access to education and health care. Joy Behar decided to turn it into a personal attack session where she questioned my motives, mocked my charity work, and suggested that caring about the community where I was born is somehow fake or self-serving. She turned back to Joy with ice in her eyes. You want to see a meltdown? A meltdown would be me stooping to your level and attacking you personally. But I won't do that, Joy, because unlike you, I don't get my kicks from tearing people down. Joy tried once more to salvage the situation. Charlize, I think you're overreacting. Overreacting? Charlize's voice hit a new pitch. Joy, you accused me of emotional colonialism for helping children in my birth country. You suggested that my entire charitable foundation is a publicity stunt. You mocked the idea that I could authentically care about people less fortunate than myself. And you did all of this without a single fact to back up any of your claims. The studio audience, which had been silent throughout the entire confrontation, began to murmur. Some were clearly on Charlize's side. Others seemed shocked by the entire spectacle. I was just trying to have an honest conversation, Joy said weakly. An honest conversation? Charlize repeated incredulously. Joy, there was nothing honest about anything you said. You came into this interview with a predetermined agenda to attack me. And when I defended myself with actual facts about the work we do, you doubled down with even more offensive accusations. Whoopi finally found her voice. Charlize, please. Let's try to... No, Whoopi, Charlize said firmly. I'm done trying. Joy has made it clear that she has no interest in having a respectful conversation about important issues. She's more interested in creating drama then addressing the fact that there are children who need help. Charlize began unhooking her microphone with shaking hands. You know what the saddest part is, Joy? You had a platform to actually learn something today. You could have asked about the specific programs we run, the challenges we face, the successes we've had. You could have used this time to raise awareness for causes that desperately need visibility. I was asking legitimate questions, Joy protested. No, Charlize said as she pulled the microphone pack from her belt. You were performing. You were putting on a show at the expense of work that actually matters. And for what? So you could have a viral moment? So you could trend on social media? She placed the microphone on the table with deliberate precision. Well, congratulations, Joy. You got your moment. I hope it was worth it. Charlize looked one final time at each host. To Sarah and Sunny, she nodded respectfully. To Whoopi, she offered an apologetic smile. To Joy, she gave nothing but contempt. Ladies, she said formally, thank you for having me. Joy, I hope someday you find something in your life that brings you joy besides making other people miserable. With that, Charlize Theron walked off. The View sat with her head held high, leaving behind a panel of stunned hosts and one very rattled Joy Behar, who suddenly realized she might have just made the biggest mistake of her television career. So there you have it. The moment when Charlize Theron absolutely destroyed Joy Behar with nothing but class, facts, and righteous anger. What did you think about how Charlize handled herself in this impossible situation? Was she right to walk off? Or should she have stayed and tried to work things out? Let me know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one.